Thanks.
Merci beaucoup.
Yeah, ultimate.
ULTI.TV.
You recovered from that yet? I'm not sure we have, but we're straight back in action here at Windmill, mixed division. Two sides fighting to get into the top 8. Austria and Estonia. Estonia began an offense but turned on that hammer against the Austrian zone that we saw cause DTU so many problems yesterday. And a big layout down the sideline should get the disc back for Estonia. Jakub Tam, who is such a talisman for them, putting his body on the line. As it stands going into this game, Lithuania are in 8th, 4.7. Estonia in 9th, 4.67, and Austria a little bit further behind, 3.8. But a big win for the Austrians could well see them catapult themselves into the out of the Swiss draw and into the top 8 bracket. It's Benji Rees and Christina Obermeier with you. And I can take a breath.
Yeah, you can. Hey, everyone. Thanks for joining us here. I think it's going to be a really intense match. As you already pointed out, a lot at stake for both teams. Austria still trying to get into that bracket. It's very unlikely, to be fair, because they had a very bad loss against a good Irish team.
But if they could bounce back with a big win here, then who knows? It's still up for grabs potentially for Estonia. That universe point loss they had to Lithuania yesterday, that is the difference, as that hammer, I think, was tipped on the mark, and it's knocked down to the floor by the Austrians. Yeah. Oh, there's coming the big shot. The edge, I think, is gonna... Did he toe it in? I think he's in bounds, but not the end zone. Now the continuation. Austria going to break on the game's first point to take a 1-0 lead.
Krause with the shot to Kieslich. Nice hockey assist from her. She actually a German import.
Yeah?
Yeah. Has been living in Vienna for, I think, maybe 2 years, 3 years, playing with Mantis.
I'm sure that pleases you no end. Given that you play for, you know, the fierce rivals box.
I don't have a feeling about it. I think Yula is a great person. Like her a lot.
It's very diplomatic of you. I'm just trying to stoke some fires.
Yeah,
you know, I think I'm a bit jumpy and buzzy after the last game.
Oh, I do get that. I would be too. I watched most of it and it was pretty impressive, but just as impressive probably is what we're going to see from Austria and Estonia here. Of course, I'm a bit biased. I really like the Estonians.
Are you? I see what you did there. Nice. To be fair, I really enjoyed watching that Estonia-Lithuania game yesterday. If you haven't seen it, I do recommend going back and checking it out. But spoiler alert, if you haven't watched it now going, it was a Lithuania win on Universe. And essentially, that is what separates the two from Lithuania being in the top 8 and Estonia, the first team out.
I heard that it is most of Estonian players' first time at Windmill. And they're doing quite well.
I was so impressed with them as they took that mixed gold at EUIC in Lithuania back in December. But that one is just thrown out the sideline. Did not give the receiver a chance. So another opportunity for Austria to make some early headway here. That one thrown right into the teeth of the end zone and thrown right back to the Estonians. So some offensive miscues from both sides, certainly at the start of this game. I wonder if they got started a couple of minutes late because the previous game was finishing pretty tight. So it just puts you slightly off rhythm, off platform. Tam.
Just a miscommunication between them and Estonia working against that Austrian zone.
I mean, we've seen how stifling this Austrian zone can be, but there are spaces, especially when it's a more still day out there. You've got those big swings available if you can throw them.
Yeah, I bet they can. They're used to playing indoors Not afraid to put it up. There you go. A hammer.
Yeah, Marin Raber catches it. Finds Tam. Wanting to go back towards the sideline. This is Lori Luritz. Tam all the way through towards the other side now. And they're getting into a bit of more of a rhythm now, swinging it back and forth, just continually trying to move and manipulate the front line of this Austrian zone. There's the hammer over the top. Lovely hammer to that soft space to Veska. Tam again, showing that the overheads are seemingly the way to go, but not if Austria have other ideas.
Felgic with the defense there for Austria. Definitely a player to watch in the women's side.
I was really impressed with her playing with Gleisdorf out at EBUCC last weekend and showing that she's equally adept on grass.
And she got MVP in the women's division from all women at the tournament. She had the most goals and assists combined for anyone.
Not bad going. So second opportunity on this point for Austria. Stankovic. Felgic now just working it through the backfield. Rapotnik. Getting a little bit of air underneath that one. I think the edge is going to take it away, but it's well tracked there by Kyle. Little dish off just outside the end zone and popped in easy as that. Pale to Wilfing and makes it 2-0 to the Austrians. Again, after a tough loss to Ireland this morning, that's exactly what they needed to bounce back.
Yeah, absolutely. Great flow and moving from one side of the field to the other. That huck a bit daring. Deeper shot floating down. But the receiver underneath it, Kyle, gets it easily.
Estonia this morning suffered defeat as well, 13-11 to the Swedish Royals, who are looking good for a top 8 spot themselves. Here's how it shakes out at the moment. After their win, strong win this morning, Germany over France. It's a little bit closer at the top. France mixed still number 1 seeds at the moment, 12.34. Germany number 2, 12.23. Great Britain at third with 10.67. Ireland in fourth at 8, which is pretty much about what you would expect those 4 widely tipped to be the semi-finalists at EUC. Timeout called, by the way, on the field, but we'll continue to run you through this. Grut in 5th, the top club team there, 6.8. Ellipsis, with that big win over Eurotrash this morning, looked to have solidified a top 8 spot on 5.58. Swedish Royals in 7th, 5.03. You think they'd be safe? Lithuania are just hovering above the cut in 8th at 4.7. Estonia first team out, 4.67. And Austria mixed in 10th at 3.8.
So yeah, Swedish Royals and Lithuania mixed playing each other on field 9 right now.
I think but certainly behooves both of them to get a nice close game, because if one side is able to kind of pull away with that a little bit more, then you get the chance of not only getting the win, but knocking your opposition out of the top 8.
Yeah, and that might even the way out for Estonia or Austria to weasel in if they have a rather big win, but we already talked about that a little bit. So it's always nice to kind of plot and think about what could happen with that Swiss draw, because I don't really know anything about the algorithm.
Just offer sacrifices to it and you'll be fine.
Yeah.
As you mentioned, yeah, Swedish Royals Lithuania is currently taking place. So is Great Britain versus Germany, France versus Ireland, and Grut versus Ellipsis. And if you want to see what's going on in any of those games, then I highly recommend you pop over to our 3rd stream where we've got the drones flying around, and hopefully you can direct them into whichever game you're interested in.
Yeah, I heard they're taking requests as well.
What the fuck's going on with the scoreboard?
So Estonia working in like kind of a zone setup offensively against a matchup defense of Austria this time around.
Yeah, we'll see if that timeout has able them to correct any any issues that they've seen develop. Of course, when you're broken twice to start the game, evidently there's some things that you need to iron out.
They are actually in a zone setup, Austria, just a different one than when we saw before.
Christian Luritz, who played a lot in Denmark, catching that hammer over the top. Can he find an option? Faking it through, instead going back to Sverker. High hammer into the bucket. Now around towards the far side. Again, this Austrian zone doing a good job of containing the Estonians, making them work at a much slower pace than maybe they might like.
Yeah, whereas the first zone they showed was to push them to do daring shots. This one's just trying to contain them, and there you go with the mistake.
Yeah, Lintz threw it behind, whereas I think Luritz wanted that one to go continue down the line, as that huck is just going to sail right out of bounds, and all that work Austria has done to earn the disc is quickly squandered.
Yeah, released that too early, making it not fly back in our angle in the direction of the receiver, but angle out and down towards the grass where all the spectators are sitting.
Of course, we'll be keeping an eye on the final rankings in the Open and Women's divisions and tell you which quarterfinals you might have the opportunity to. We have the brackets in the Open division for you. We'll give you them at the next appropriate break in play. Lefty backhand, coming very flat at the front there. Looks like, again, it's going to start like that, but they'll begin to pass players off, see if they can trap Austria. Austria can trap Estonia on that sideline. And the Estonians again swinging back and forth. Now they find a little thread through, putting a bit of air underneath it on that leaning pass towards the far side.
They're doing well to move the disc now.
Again, just sitting that one over the front line of defenders. It's very patient. But can they find the more aggressive options through? That's a nice way to do it. Luritz, I think, was going to go for the one through, but instead fakes it. There's no, I just want a little, just that extra cut when that second swing goes behind that front line to try and time it and see if they can get a bit more aggressive with that field position. Somehow jammed it in there.
That is what you were talking about, right? Like getting the continuation of once the disc moves to the sideline from the middle.
Or using the threat of that just to bounce it back into the inside. This one, oh, just about sat it over the defender, but couldn't get it to drop back down in time. ULT's in just the right position.
The fact that ULT just jumped up there already challenged the intended receiver to get up early and look at the play rather than to position themselves in the correct way.
Yeah, the Austrians haven't made any secret of what their game plan is here, but they're executing it very well. Just maybe need to clean up some of the miscues after they get the disc, just like that.
Commentators curse anyone?
I don't think that's the commentator's curse. They did exactly what I said they might do. Again, getting turns well by just grinding the Estonians down and eventually trusting they make the mistake, but nowhere near as sharp as an offense as perhaps they'd like to be if they are to really challenge at the top end of EUC. It does help when you've got a figure like Kislik that you can put on the mark, because he is enormous.
Yeah, he has a very wide wingspan.
He's a lean bean.
And he got a block on the hammer, so any other hammer shot people will take from now on will be a bit, you know, thought about twice.
Yeah, I was going to say, you're just going to put that question, that seed of doubt maybe in your mind.
Very static downfield.
Oh, and there is the tip on the mark, but if you don't catch your point blocks, that's what happens.
Still caught. It's not good enough.
It's disgraceful behavior. But again, you're seeing why they've got, you know, the big wingspan at the front of the zone to get the blocks. Floated up, this time not a problem to be brought down. Estonia have pretty much gone nowhere. They've moved the disc solidly enough, with the exception of that one throw that was tipped but was still caught. Otherwise, it's just kind of going sideways, and there's no vertical movement here.
I do think they're going vertically back, which isn't ideal.
And then just enough pressure on that little thread through. There was no progression in their offense. Bit of a bump there.
Estonia 57 throws, 3 turnovers.
So discussion on that bump. Defense wanted to jump in there, but maybe just talking.
As that one is going to be squeezed down the sideline. No, he couldn't quite get down, the big man. Kislich just has it spanner out of his grasp.
And that is the 4th time Estonia get the disc back.
When you think about the offensive masterclass that was most of the last game, this is much more of a defensive battle.
Nicely put.
It's like those two. It's like when you see like a heavyweight boxing match, and the first few rounds you just go through that feeling out punch process. You don't throw your haymakers right away. You're just kind of keeping your distance, keeping them at arm's reach, maybe throwing a few jabs at there without making sure that you're overcommitting. Hammer over the top, read really well, palmed away by Kitchen, and that time one throw into the end zone for the score. This Austrian zone is just suffocating Estonia.
4th time's a charm for Austria in Kitchen. The player on Heidi's getting that block and the assist as well. He played on the open team last cycle in 2019. This time around he decided to go mixed.
Yeah, so those quarterfinals for you, by the way. This is breaking news as we're getting stuff coming into the booth. In the open division, Mooncatchers versus Switzerland, Clapham versus Gentle, Condors versus France, and Austria versus the Czech Republic. In the women's side, Germany versus Austria, France versus Spice, Czech Republic versus Switzerland, and Mermaid Lumberjacks versus Belgium.
These are some good games we got there. I know what I want to see, but that's very biased of me, I think.
Would it be Austria by any chance in both divisions?
Do you think so?
Yeah.
Actually, I do think Austria, Czech Republic, the 4 and 5 matchup would be really good in the open division because they played Universe Point yesterday.
Ooh.
So I do think that's a hot take, to be quite honest, because Mooncatchers, Switzerland, well, Clapham, Gentle, France, Condors could be interesting, but I do think, like, looking just on paper, Austria, Czech Republic does seem like the closest matchup. But back to live action. Estonia on offense again, trying to work through one of the zone looks. It's the other zone again, not the one we saw now, but the one we saw
Previously.
Thank you for that word.
Yeah, they were just really struggling to get any verticality or progression with the offense. It's just shuttling side to side. Veska. Now here's Tam. Going back to Graham. Little dishing off there. Trying to move the disc a bit quicker. Really make the front line of that Austrian zone have to work. Graham. It's slow, but it is moving, and I say the progression downfield is slow. The disc movement has certainly picked up in tempo this point.
They seem to have gotten into a rhythm and kind of figured out that zone, maybe.
think they just want to be passing and moving it a bit more. Changing those angles. Graham. He's got an option short if he wants it. Eventually he does take it. Cheeky scuba over the top towards the far side. Loritz. There is a stoppage of some sort. There's a player down on the floor for Estonia.
Oh, that looks like a lot of body contact.
So they can have a little discussion here and talk about it. Robin Lillog was the player on the floor for Estonia, looking a little bit like a cowboy with that hat and sunglasses combo. Sandro Aloede, Austrian player involved in the collision. Now swinging all the way across laterally, Veska. Big pump fake on the backhand. This is much more like it from the Estonians in the red zone now. They've got into this position on previous possessions and come unstuck. Can they find the key to unlocking it? Veska's leaking out of the backside here. But I think rather than try and get this shot all the way across the field, they're just going to be a little bit calmer and cooler with it. Running a little 1-2 there. Pumping the backhand, back to Graham, now Tam. Still a few paces out. Will they stay patient or will they give up and force it in? They went for the force and Aluede was able to knock it away.
Applauding himself for his play. But actually really good recognition with a bit of a ballerina turn.
51 passes they made, but they couldn't make the all-important one for the score. Towed on the far sideline by Schmeisser. Now looking for another toe in. Stankovic actually just reads it well. Dumped back to Palla. Now looking to bounce it around outside the end zone. Little high release over the top. Oh, I think it caught him off guard. And a turnover for Austria, but they must have made, what, 5-6 passes and got the same distance as Estonia did. Now, off the quick pickup, they're looking deep. That is a sensational layout, but he ground strips himself on the landing.
What a grab there. And he looks very shaken up. See that run down again, and he gets that disc on the fingertips and drops it while turning around.
Yeah, he's still down on the floor here. We're going to just take a little bit of a breather here while he gets some treatment, and we'll rejoin you very shortly. ULTI.TV here at Windmill 2023. after a brilliant layout, but unfortunately taking a hefty landing and losing control of the disc. Robin Nilogs had to take an injury sub. Let's just hope that he's okay. Aluede. Downfield. Kmetsova. And Schmeisser. With the stall count getting high, wants to put a bit of air underneath it all the way over the top and into the end zone. Well, in terms of a high stall throw, you cannot really get a better bailout option than that.
Absolutely not. Martina Kmerkova. Probably the best pickup Austria got from last cycle, from the 2019 cycle. Moved to Austria maybe 3 years ago, I believe. And has been really like one of the most important players on that team. Also plays for Wunder-Team in Vienna, and mostly for the international seasons she joined Shout this year.
Yeah, and she was playing leftovers, I think, last year, where she was
Indeed
one of the breakout players of the year in the mixed division.
Yeah, and well deserved at that. I've heard that a lot of the Austrian system is based around her. So they're looking to isolate her quite a lot. That's what I got from talking to different sources.
Well, Austria on course for another big win on stream unless Estonia can rapidly problem solve here. And maybe see if they can propel themselves into the top 8. Lithuania mix currently up 6-4 on the Swedish Royals. Again, both of those teams also looking for a shot at the top 8. Pull fielded on the end zone line. What a shock. More zone from the Austrians. Graham lays out to save that one. Hey, if it ain't broke, why would you change?
Would not make a lot of sense to change that up. They are switching up that zone every now and again, so they're not showing us the same style of defense, which is also really cool because then the opponents can't really get into a rhythm.
Down the line. Austrian zone eventually able to clamp back down again. Again, they're just daring the Estonians to try and find that key to unlock it.
Did you see that no-look pass? I love it.
Maybe that's one of them, but it hung up there for a little bit too long. And Benjamin Kane used his length to come in there well. Just when you thought they might have sprung the trap. Klauser with a high one, past the defender, threads it into the end zone. 5-0 now for Austria, and this game is getting out of Estonia's hands in a hurry.
It really is. Bookends for Kine there, getting that D and the score as well. So yeah, Austria really like looking good, looking like the stronger team, and they have control over it, gotta say, with that game. It seems like teams have taken a timeout. Yeah,
I think for Estonia, like, whatever you're doing is not working, so you need to see that here. We'll take a breather in the booth as well, and we'll rejoin you on the other side.
Always on the move? You can keep up to date with ULTI.TV on all of our social media channels. Like, follow, subscribe, share us with a friend, or send us a message just to say hey. Thank you for supporting us in our mission to grow Ultimate everywhere.
Welcome back to ULTI.TV's coverage of Windmill 2023. If you want polar opposites, the last game that was high energy, high octane, and tight all the way through, this one is like, it's a bit more like a chess match. It's a bit more methodical. And just, rather than being about the big plays necessarily, it's about setting those systems and those traps for the enemy to fall into. And so far, Estonia have fallen into them because they're down 5-0 here.
But it's far from clean. Estonia have gotten it back time and time again and really worked hard as they are on offense once again, trying to get through that Austrian zone.
Brabber on the far sideline. Goes back to Tam. Lovely little scuba over the top. If you're Estonia, what do you think they were saying in that timeout?
Just like, take a breath. They're doing fine. Like, as a coach, I would tell them, like, you're doing fine. You're doing all the right things. Just stay consistent. Do it in the beginning. They're doing all the right things, working through that zone. They get to a point, and then they switch something up because they're getting end zone eyes. And I think just, like, remind yourself that it's not necessary to do anything special. Just do the things you can do, and that's it. That'll work. It's my personal take, of course.
I see it. At midfield now, the Estonians are just a little bit shy of it. See if Austria can get the trap set on that far sideline now. Sverka to Tam. Tam to Dinkelberg. On the end zone line, surely this will be it for Estonia. Tam so wants that scoring pass. Can he find a way through? Not this time. They'll have to play round the back a little bit more. I'm convinced, though, if they just keep shuttling it back and forth, eventually they'll find that window, that seam, that crease that they can work through.
They took nearly 60 passes the last possession. I'm sure they can stay calm and collected and just carry the disc into the end zone.
Well, it looks like that is going to be just the plan. They are not going to panic, at least. Going to try their utmost not to panic, because you see there is maybe just rip right down the centre of the end zone there. But that time, oh, he tipped it, but he didn't catch it, and Tam rescued it. Maybe that's the lifeline that Estonia need. And that time, they try and thread it through the narrow channel, and Austria close it on them.
Lasering it through, just too much muscle on that put. Had to get it there quickly, and that's not a good option.
Felgic ripping the throw deep, and it is towed in bounds on that far sideline by Schmeisser. It's so brutal that it takes Estonia so many passes because of the nature of the zone. And that time, Tam's just going to steal it back. I was going to say, but Austria can go. Austria just play a little bit more expansive, go right down the field with one shot. But that time, the scuba, I think there was a little bit of a miscommunication, and Tam stole through on the inside line.
I like that scuba shot, but it's just, yeah, too good from Tam to run through there. Now call the travel on him to also stop the flow.
It is confirmation, by the way. We will have Condors France in the Open quarterfinals up next on Field 7. And on Field 8, we will have the Mermaid Lumberjacks up against Belgium in the women's division.
Sounds like some intense games.
On the far side, Raber. More continued swing. It's a little soft pop in there. Tam. Looking for the expansive blade over the chop to Dinkelberg.
I love those shots. Also, they're switching their style of attacking the zone up a little bit, and I think that's a very wise thing to do.
I agree with that. You've got to try and find a way to keep this Austrian defense, like, put a little bit of pressure back on them, I think. If you do the same thing over and over again, it's easy for them.
And a miscommunication.
This must be so exasperating for Estonia.
Yeah, I bet.
Watching their top 8 hopes just gradually slip through their fingers.
I'd usually say it ain't over till it's over, but it actually is over when time is over. Can't come back and have hope to cap one, and that is a big layout from Tom.
Accepted foul though. Quickly made the signal. Good communication, I like it.
Yeah, he did. He might have just gotten a little bit of the body there as well.
There's the deep shot from Austria, and that one I think is more likely to end up in the urinals than in the pitch.
Oh, yo, can we get a new disc, please? Austria calling for one more time. It's gone back and forth quite a bit here.
So the disc actually went out quite a way up the pitch. So the Estonians will pick up with, you know, decently way through Austrian half.
This also gave Austria a lot of time to set up that zone again.
Yeah, it did. And they forced the floaty throw over the top and had an opportunity maybe to do it, but it was well defended again, this time over the head of Lepik. And Felix shows terrible disc skills on cam 2.
Look at that, right in
Bonk.
front of us.
ULTI.TV right in the heart of the action as always. Pala finds the seam through Felgic. And Felgic's throw, trying to find Aluede, is blocked. I wonder if they might just pick it up and look for the deep shot. Defense is there in time to make sure that that doesn't go. And now here's the continued Estonian offense, just finds Raber in front of Felgic, who now drops back into position. And now game settles into this familiar holding pattern again. Tam. Going around to Raber. Now Dinkelberg. Again, just playing it around.
Fine.
Dinkelberg runs 1-2 with Tam. Sorry, Christina.
Look at they're now finding the middle of the pitch. A foul. Uncontested by the mark. It's always a very cheap stop of flow when you run behind. Of course,
I'm a little surprised that they called the foul rather than contact there, because it does feel like at times it's a struggle to get things going again. Nice hammer over the top towards the far sideline from Sverker. Estonia still continuing to just piece their way down the field, slowly but surely graduating through the meters.
Nice continuation to switch to the near side of our field here.
It's very studious from both sides here. Neither really willing to give too much away. The Austrians keen to not allow that one killer shot that would finally get the Estonians on the board. And I think the Estonians have been bitten by trying to force that kind of throw before. And are happy just, you know, at the moment, we will just move it around the back until we can trust we can open those spaces. There's the deep shot, floated up there, and Aloedia gets in front. Exactly what the zone wanted.
Absolutely. Aloedia with the high grab there, or Mac rather. Didn't really catch it, did he?
Yeah, which I must admit I'm not overly enthused about. I'd rather get things moving when the Estonian defense is probably out of position.
Especially if he later than picks it up himself.
Felgic gunning it deep, squeezing it past the defender, but Pala can't reach it with his left hand.
Squeezing it past everyone, it seems. Nice shot, though.
So again, Estonia will begin to try and surgically slice through the zone, which they've had no success with so far.
Success is defined by the beholder.
No, success is defined by putting the ball in the goal.
The
So
ball.
to-
Wait
to-
a minute.
To paraphrase from football, right? Like, you can play the prettiest football, but if you don't put the ball in the net, it doesn't mean anything. Eventually, you can do all the nice things, but you do have to catch the Frisbee in the end zone.
Funny that you said ball, because Austrian National Championships happened last week and they were broadcasted, and the person commentating always said ball instead of disc.
But
or
it's not a ball.
it's not. Apparently it's not. Or the definition of ball isn't clear to some people.
ULTI.TV would never let that happen.
No, they wouldn't. But did anyone ask me to do it? No, they didn't. It's fine, but I wouldn't have made that mistake.
I feel like it's a pretty simple thing to work out. That doesn't look like a ball. Anyway. Again, Estonia, they have really nice phases of working it around, and then a mistake comes, and I say for Austria, that's what this zone is designed to do, right? It's not necessarily aggressively forcing the turns, because you've always got those resets available if you want them, if you're Estonia, but it is just grinding them down and trusting that eventually they'll make enough passes that the mistake will come. Aloedia is really baiting that deep shot, isn't he?
Yeah, he is.
And at the moment, I get it, because Estonia haven't really shown that they've got any interest in putting it, and when they have, they've put too much air underneath it, and he's been able to gobble it up. I mean, he's cheating a good 15, 20 meters underneath there.
That's good. That's part of what this zone is supposed to do. And look at that, a zippy throw.
Yeah, decided that they'd try and just spear it on them before Aloedia could get back and recover, but it was too far. I mean, this Austrian zone has generated so many turns.
Yeah, and they haven't really cashed in on most of them. And this probably is the difference between a high-level team like France, Germany, and GB. They would
get the turns and utilize them a bit better.
Grind through it and actually get the point, whereas Austria, we've seen them again and again just jockeying it deep. I like, don't get me wrong, I really love punching it in.
But yeah, you can have other options in your arsenal. They've been very profligate with it in their opportunities. Time out here on the pitch. We're going to take a little break in the booth as well.
always on the move? You can keep up to date with ULTI.TV on all of our social media channels. Like, follow, subscribe, share us with a friend, or send us a message just to say hey. Thank you for supporting us in our mission to grow Ultimate everywhere.
Coming in off the timeout here, Austria will begin with the disc. Those of you wondered how Robin Lillog was doing after that earlier layout. I think he's just feeling a bit better now, but probably not going to see him for the rest of the game.
No, he also says he doesn't remember a thing, so might check for a concussion as well.
Sick layout though.
Yeah. Really impressive.
So, will the timeout have fixed Austria's offensive miscues? Schmeisser. Alouedi comes up line. Now trapped on the sideline, going with the lefty backhand into the centre to Felgic. Felgic with the hammer, dials it up towards the back of the end zone. The timeout works. A treat. Pala with a goal to go along with his earlier assist, and it's 6-0.
That was a very good hammer on a Felgic.
She's good, isn't she?
Yeah, she is. Didn't expect anything else from her. No, but that was another grinding point. I don't even want to know how many turns and single passes that took.
Across the whole point, comfortably triple digits, I think.
Crazy. Crazy, crazy.
6-0, Estonia lead. We did say that if Austria were to try and break their way into the brackets, they would need a big win. 6 points up is a good margin.
That works.
I think one of the problems is that, you know, they've taken about 55 minutes of game time to do it. So actually, because their offense has been imperfect, to say the least, they've maybe not put the points on the board as quickly as they might need to.
Do you think they might need a bigger margin than 6 points?
It doesn't hurt, does it? I think
No,
given
never
how
does.
far behind they were, and given, because obviously you're not just about this game, it's about the other teams that they've played and so on and so forth. All hail the almighty algorithm. We'll see, we'll see. Graham. Low throw to his KFK teammate Luritz. Graham again. Again trying to play with a bit more zip and energy. Graham, short to Lori Luritz, now gets it back. I think that might be the call there to transition into going one-on-one. As players look to recover and find a matchup, or maybe not.
They're holding that zone and doing well at it, but this time around, Estonia, I don't know, they might have clicked, or flipped the switch in that timeout as well.
Yeah, the fact that you get a whole new set of players on the field as well, a bit more fresh energy in the legs, just outside of the end zone. And that one, Christian Luritz finds Graham. Estonia finally on the board, 6-1, with a clean hold as well.
Great stuff, and it's exactly what they needed this time around. Maybe we've got ourselves a game now. getting some love from the Austrian side. Personally addressed to me from Fergic. None of you saw that.
Sadly not. You just do wonder for Estonia if it's a case of too little too late now.
Well, we'll see about that. The only reason we're playing this last round of Swiss draw is to set placement in the top 8 bracket, right? And if you can minimize the damage and other teams play even worse, maybe, that could all make a difference. You never know, though, and I don't either because I can't do that math. That's why there's a computer doing it for me.
Elsewhere in the top 8, Hrut down 11-8 to Ellipsis. Lithuania lead the Swedish Royals 10-9. Germany 10, Great Britain 9. And if I can find them, France 8, Ireland 6, last we heard. I think this might be the first time we see Austria start the game on start a point on offense.
Indeed.
Hammer ripped towards the far sideline, squeezes it in there. Now downfield, Hildebrandt. Pass is short, now nice gainer underneath, offloading. Mesner. And there's a pick.
Straight in the red zone.
Yeah, they'd be hoping they could answer the clean hold of Estonia with one of their own. Sent it to Kometsova. Kometsova, oh, it's off the hands! And out of the far sideline.
Yeah, tipped. Couldn't be caught on that second effort. A big disc goes up.
Now they may be trying to beat the Austrians at their own game with a big rip deep. Tam answers the call. The leader into the end zone. And there's a break for Estonia. 6-2. Could they be about to dramatically flip the script? We've known they're capable of this. We just haven't seen it from them so far. Now they're beginning to maybe turn it on a bit.
With Frisbee, anything can happen, always. And I do think that it took that 1 point for them to wake up and be like, hey, we can do that. We're better than this. There's a reason they're up in front of Austria. Of course, having not played with their O-line for all of the game is super challenging on that Austrian side, and they did very well to come near their own end zone. And have you ever, like, I don't think I've seen that too often, that at a score of 6-1, the O-line plays for the first time.
Yeah, I mean, it's the best part of an hour since the game started. So it's understandable maybe that then you do have a little bit of ring rust potentially in there.
Yeah, you're not quite in the game, and as much as sideline help as you can do, it's not the same thing as actually being on the field and getting your reps in.
Especially if the conditions have changed since you warmed up. On the far sideline, big pump fake from Mesner. Now Savio. Nice grab downfield. Working it well. There's the shot towards the break side. It's going to float up a bit, but not enough for the Estonian defense to close. 7-2.
Yeah, Hildebrandt with the goal there. One of the speedsters on the team. They really worked well off of that flow offense and did manage to get that goal in now.
Austria 1 point away from taking the half. See, they're just keeping, like, after every point, all the teams coming on, trying to keep themselves engaged in the contest, which when you have a big roster, it can be difficult.
Yeah, but it's all the more important for a whole team to support themselves.
Working it well, there's
And
the
each
shot
other.
towards the break
Because
side.
what comes with a big roster is maybe more and less playing time for different individuals, and you know, you have to just be part of the game regardless, like of the team regardless of the amount of pitch time you get. That's, you know, just a basic being part of a Frisbee team. And I do think there's a power line up on defense here for the Austrian side. Looking forward to seeing what their defensive plan will be.
It looks like they're just coming down in a match this time.
Switching it up.
Rubber. Resetting back, Sverker. Around, back to Rubber. Schmeisser comes and puts the force on. As the disc is dished backwards. Wanted the backhand. They've still got the reset available if they want it, or they could try and rip it deep to Tam. And Tam can't quite high point it on the sideline.
That would have been a lot to ask of Tam to toe it in, that disc trailing very steeply towards that far side. And they're calling for a play. I'm looking forward to seeing what that play is.
Pick it up and jack it.
Yeah, play on Fergic?
Well, the first pass is a centering to Schmeisser. Schmeisser with the hammer towards the far sideline to Kitchen. Kitchen centre, Felgic. Kitchen gets it back on the up line. Nice crisp backhand out towards Kane. Felgic stooping down, brings it in. Schmeisser. Pack high towards the back of the end zone and out and through.
And that's half for the Austrians.
Well, it
Oh,
would have
through.
been
Oh,
through the end zone, not through into
whoopsie.
someone's hands.
I thought through for the score.
It's all
There's
right. You were a little bit unsighted. I'll let
there's
you off.
an umbrella right where that disc should have been caught. And
It was weird because it looked really nice and smooth, and then they just kind of threw it to no one in particular.
whoopsie.
Strange. Nice pump fake there, just to get the defenders committing. Playing it within their own end zone at the moment. Oh, that's going to float up and rise. And a couple of players contend for it. And Rubber couldn't quite snatch it.
Raba giving it her all. Never giving up on that disc.
And then punched in on the very first pass to Angela Savio, and an 8-2 half-time lead for the Austrians. While the two teams formulate some game plans for the second half, we'll take a little bit of a breather in the booth as well, and ULTI.TV will rejoin you on the other side.
We are a group of ultimate players, coaches and video enthusiasts. We've worked with the major federations and the greatest events.
We're on a mission to make Ultimate huge. We want our videos and live streams to be free to watch,
We want to make stories that not only reach you,
but also reach people outside the Ultimate community.
Like and subscribe, ULTI.TV, the best in the world.
Become a member and
fund
fund
our
our
work
work.
to cover more events in the future and to bring more stories and live coverage to the eyes of the ultimate world and beyond.
Those who do not know their history can never relive it. The skies, the dives, the sideline smiles. Our past is held in photo albums, drinking stories, The present is a gift. And here at ULTI.TV, we want to make sure we always appreciate it, capturing the immortal moments of Ultimate from around the world and making sure everyone can enjoy them for free, forever. Because the future belongs to all of us.
Second half action with you here at Windmill 2023. Austria up against Estonia in the mixed division. Austria's suffocating zone, really the story of the first half.
Yeah, those Australians and their zones.
The Austrian zone that kind of sucks the life out of Estonia has given them this big advantage. It was 6-0 before the Estonians got on the board, and that had taken, what, the best part of an hour.
But we finally come to the second half.
Game of Frisbee's broken out.
Oh, yeah.
Rather than the chess match in the first half. That's a nice reaching grab made by Kometsova. And Kometsova gets blocked. No call, though. Messner wants to find a way through. Goes back. Kröger. Kometsova. Into the centre. Dished off again. Savio towards the far sideline. Nice snatch made there by Montgomery to make it 9-2. A clean hold for Austria to start the second half, and unbelievably, it's their first clean hold of the game for Austria.
Not bad.
I mean, I think it's partly because their D-line was out on the field so much that the offense didn't really have the opportunity, but when they did take the field, it wasn't perfect for them.
Yeah, I do think so. Part of it for sure was because the offense didn't really take the field as much in general. So after a long break of an hour.
You right there, Christina?
I'm all right.
You sure?
Yep. Whoopsie. I'm sorry if you heard any of that. I fell over. So after not playing for an hour, it's really hard to come in, get through, and get that get a clean hold right away. But doesn't matter if your D-line got you a 6-0 lead. You can make mistakes as an O-line. I mean, it's okay.
Elsewhere in the mixed division, after being 11-8 down, Krut now lead Ellipsis 12-11. France were 8-6 up on Ireland. Now Ireland lead 10-8. Swedish Royals have flipped the script. They're 12-11 up on Lithuania. And Germany and Great Britain are tied at 11s. Those are the other teams in the top 8 at the moment.
To be honest, the only outcome that would match those is if Estonia would go on a 4 or 5 break run.
Yeah, I was going to say, we've seen a few others at the moment, but I think what's working against Estonia is the clock, because there's 7 points down and there's about 5 minutes before the cap comes on, and at Windmill in Swiss-Jaw, it's a hard cap. Once the time goes, you finish the point, and that's it.
For the last round here, because as we go into the championship brackets, you're not allowed to have ties anymore.
Correct. We'll tackle precisely what happens in caps in the bracket when we get there, which starts next round. We're streaming France Condors from the Open Division, and in the Women's Division, the Mermaid Lumberjacks against Belgium on fields 7 and 8, respectively.
And if you want to watch any of the other games, you can jump up to our drone stream, which is the third stream you can see on our YouTube. And if you ask nicely and like the video and request to see a specific team, they might fly the drone over and give you a better look at them.
Tab. Back in the centre, dishing it off forward, and they've just played a little bit too quickly there. Another clip break, by the way, 13-11 now, so they've just got on an absolute march. And Felgich wants to take another timeout, so we will do the same in the booth. And we'll see you very shortly.
Always on the move? You can keep up to date with ULTI.TV on all of our social media channels. Like, follow, subscribe, share us with a friend, or send us a message just to say hey. Thank you for supporting us in our mission to grow Ultimate everywhere.
Austria 9, Estonia 2. 5-minute warning's just gone, so no more timeouts after this point. But we were questioning the need to maybe take a timeout there in the first place.
There are different reasons to call it a timeout. Maybe give your players a rest, or drop something different, or just sometimes it's also just practice taking a timeout. And they really want to punch this in. They haven't been 100% clean. We've criticized that before. They really want to punch that in and be clean. That might be some of the reasons to do that, actually. I'm not a fan, really, to take timeouts mid-points if you're not stressed, but it's a technical thing that we don't have to get into now because they're back in live action.
Yeah, I wonder if it's like they know how much every point can matter in this Swiss draw. Lovely up-line cut there from Alouede with maybe the worst shirt number I've ever seen.
Yeah, I do think that's a misprint thing.
Okay, okay, we'll allow it. Begrudgingly.
Your miscomfort with this is noticed. Ask Lookfly about it.
Schmeisser somehow threads the needle past the bidding Tam into the end zone, and the timeout works a treat. So if they wanted to take the timeout just to practice coming in off that static start, well, it worked a treat.
Yeah, well done from the Austrian side. They're up by 8 points now.
Yeah, 10-2. And, well, Estonia's hope of the top 8 is certainly gone by now. Have Austria done enough to force their way in there? That is the question.
And the only answer is the algorithm. To watch it closely, that is.
Yeah, we are not privy to its mysterious ways. I'll have to coax it out of its shell at some point. (10-2), Austria lead. On paper, 9 and 10 seeds coming into this. It'd be a little bit close with the algorithm giving the edge to Estonia, but they've just had no answers.
It's super weird because that late in the Swiss draw, you're used to having like the best matchup, the closest games, and
right.
Once again, we managed to pick the one game that isn't that close. We've done a magical we. I say we, I mean the community in general, also our Patreons, have managed to get the games with probably the biggest difference in scorelines. I don't know why people are so fascinated with huge margins.
To be fair to our patrons, they didn't pick this one, but we will glass some glaring side eyes somewhere.
That's what I'm saying, the community. Patreons, other professional people that should know what they're doing, like us.
Oh, since when have we known what we're doing?
I don't know, sorry, I just wanted to toot our horns. Would have not been the right moment to do so.
Sverker into the end zone. I tell you what, this is very much Callahan country, isn't it, for Estonia, and that is the last thing they need in a game that has been a bit of a horror show for those in grey. You're right, I think you spotted it. There's a player wide open out the back. Kane was cheating miles up.
Yeah, I think they've missed the moment, but there was a moment when the player was very open with the distance. Should have just jacked it like a pole to that person in the back.
I agree with you, rubber.
Just knife it over the top, go to the corner and let her knife it. Ugh. I'd really love to throw that one right now. It's like just.
So there's the start of the time is over jingle. I've not yet worked out whether it's the start of the jingle or it's when they officially say time is over. But this will be the last point, I'm sure. Who the heck is Alice?
I don't know. Haven't met her.
It's all about Herbie in Wonderland this weekend.
Love the theme though.
A little bit of give go outside the end zone. Can they force their way in?
I hope they won't try to force it.
Go on, it'll be fun.
No, it hasn't worked out for them too well.
It hasn't worked out for them, but if they throw it hard enough, this time it'll work. It's always hard. It's always open if you throw it hard enough. That's just physics.
Trying hard enough.
Don't question me on that.
Trying hard enough does not necessarily mean throwing the Frisbee hard.
Well, they've allowed this Austrian zone to push them back again.
Opening up more space.
It's only worth it if you make use of the extra space you've been given. And at the moment, they're not really doing so. Dinkelberg finds it through. Back to Dinkelberg. Dumps it off. Estonia still being patient. Bit of hand waving at the back of the end zone just to like, don't forget about me. And that one past the reaching defender. Graham on the end zone line. Goes backwards. Lintz. Back to Graham. Lintz goes a backup line, but you can see what the plan is. Just do not allow the scoring pass. As long as it goes backwards, we don't care. They're just not getting it in the end zone. Graham to Lintz. Again, they're trying to get a bit of rhythm going towards the end zone. But still the Austrians reject and deny them. Graham, that's a nice find through. Surely there's got to be the continuation into the end zone. That time there is to Dinkelberg. 11-2 final score. It remains to be seen whether we will see Austria in the top 8 in the mixed division. We'll give you news of those games as we get it.
10-3 for Austria, 7-point margin.
10-3, you're right, yes.
7-point margin. Will that be enough? Stay tuned, we won't know for sure.
Yeah, keep it locked on ULTI.TV to find out as we go into bracket play. Up next, we've got Condors versus France here on Field 7 in the Open Division. Women's Division, Mermaid Lumberjacks versus Belgium on Field 8 behind us. For all of us here at ULTI.TV and Christina Obermeyer alongside me, Benji Reese, we'll see you on the other side.
Thank you. Thanks.
Yeah, ultimate.
ULTI.TV